See, this is really where the whole thing started, was my teeth. My teeth started hurting. They started hurting so much, and this was kind of a new experience for me because I'd never had any problems with my teeth. Growing up, my childhood dentist, Dr. Lab, always said, there's never a problem with your teeth. Your teeth are perfect. You are perfect. Dr. Lab was such a great dentist. I went to him all through my childhood and even, kind of through college when I was coming home and still on my parents' insurance, really pushing it until 25, 26. But we would all go to him, my whole family, and I had a really big family, and he was such a nice guy that he let us schedule one appointment for one kid, and he saw 7 little mouths for that one appointment that we only paid for one. He was such a nice person. And he did this because he was a big fan of my dad's, and my dad was a kind of royalty in our town, a very important person. He was a high school football coach at a Catholic high school, which in Southern Ohio it really is like being in the mob or something. You got a guy for everything. He goes in and everyone wants to do him a favor. Like, yeah, Mr. Tull, let me get that for you. Like, oh yeah, we'll comp that for you. Or yeah, we'll just come out, no charge. That's sort of the magic of that kind of weird, toxic Catholic masculinity. But we benefited. So that was going to Dr. Lab is where I got a lot of confidence orally. Like for my mouth. And I would walk away from all those appointments with kind of some validation from an older male, powerful figure, and I'd get a free toothbrush. So win-win. But flash forward, my parents move out of our hometown, and so it's a different state. I didn't even get to say goodbye to Dr. Lab, and I grow up into a human person who, luckily, I got a job right before my teeth started hurting, and that job provided a lot of insurance and benefits and dental insurance. Because for the past couple of years, I just didn't go to the dentist. I was uninsured, I was poor, I was in my mid-20s, and I just figured, like, until they start hurting, I don't need to go. I mean, I didn't ignore them. I still brushed and flossed, and okay, well, I didn't floss as much as I should, which is to say I didn't. It's fine. I mean, like, they were fine until they started hurting. And then when they started hurting, I thought, oh, okay, well, that's a problem. So I went to a new dentist, and I walked in, and this dentist gave off some different vibes than Dr. Lab. This dentist, he walks in and he has the medical mask on. He's all like covered from head to toe. He's not necessarily like an attractive man. He's, kind of a like middle-aged Polish, like he's a very like North Side Chicago type of dentist. But then he spoke and his voice sounded just like Harvey Keitel's voice. And honestly, like with the mask on, you can't, there's no, you can't tell in the dark. And I happen to find Harvey Keitel in general to be a very a sexy he's like, I wouldn't say on the Mount Rushmore, but he's in the national parks of that. And so his voice I find especially sexy. So my dentist is talking to me in Harvey Keitel's voice, and then he puts his fingers in my mouth, and it was like, you're coming on to me, buddy. That's not even my fault. So then the dentist pulls his fingers out of my mouth, and he says, you have 4 cavities. And I immediately start tearing up with shame because, again, Ohio Catholic, we're very, very shameful of lots of things. And I really felt like I let Dr. Lab down. I let everyone down by getting these cavities. And my dentist goes, well, fortunately for you, all these cavities, they're on each of your wisdom teeth, and we need to just take those out anyway. So, then they'll be gone. And I thought, oh, wisdom teeth surgery, okay. And then I thought, oh, pills. And then I thought, oh, pills. Because if you've ever seen an internet video of somebody after they have wisdom teeth surgery, you've seen somebody like wandering around super high. You've seen them like in a car, like yelling things, and everybody is like on cloud 9, but they're insane because of these intense pain pills that everybody gets to take after, during, sometime after their wisdom teeth surgery. And I am an addict. I'm an addict of all things, but particularly alcohol and a little bit drugs, but really anything. Like I can get addicted to anything that'll give me endorphins, running a TV show, a certain kind of candy, but again, especially alcohol and drugs. That was some big stuff for me. So the idea of having to take these pills, of having a surgery and then having to take these pills, was on one hand very frightening and kind of like the whole thing I've tried to avoid. But on the other hand, it's this kind of beautiful excuse to take some pills. I didn't ask for them. I wasn't walking into the doctor's office asking for pills. I wasn't, going around trying to buy drugs. I was the idea of getting drugs handed to me. I've never bought drugs. I've never sought out drugs. I've never gone to buy drugs in my whole life. So it's not me. Well, there was one time I did try to buy drugs, or a buying of drugs was a part of, I was there. So this was my 23rd birthday. It's, how all of your birthdays after a certain point just kind of run together and kind of really don't mean anything. And especially that was during the time that I was drinking and really everything ran together, for many, many years. I have barely any solid memories of any of that. Every birthday after my 20th birthday just sort of floats along in a weird memory, but I'm pretty sure this was my 23rd birthday because I worked downtown in downtown Chicago, and my boyfriend at the time said he was going to surprise me and we would spend my birthday downtown. It was going to be so great. So he comes downtown and we meet. There's a little plaza right near Water Tower Place, and the actual Water Tower is, one of the most famous Chicago buildings. It famously survived the Great Chicago Fire of 1870 something. But it's this actual little water tower, white building, and it's very cute. It's historical. I love historical, and I've always really loved a survivor. So there's this plaza. We decide we meet right out there, and my boyfriend says that the surprise for me is that he is going to, he has a free coupon for a Ghirardelli chocolate sundae at the nearby Ghirardelli store, which is very exciting. So we go over to the Ghirardelli store, and the coupon is expired. So the surprise is that that doesn't happen. And I'm sure I said something sort of sweet and codependent, like, I don't need ice cream, I just need you. And luckily that's all I had, so that was okay. And we sat in that little plaza and we just, hung out. It was a beautiful summery Chicago afternoon, and, kind of street performers playing music and that really sort of thick, humid air of downtown. And this guy, we sort of noticed this guy, and he's going up to everybody in this little plaza and he's asking them for money. And, that happens all the time downtown. It happens a lot in the city. And he's not hurting anybody. He's just going up asking for money, moving to the next group. As he gets closer, you can kind of really start to tell he's not doing well. His eyes are really red. He just isn't in a great place. And so I can kind of see my boyfriend get excited to have a little fun with him, because my boyfriend was the type of guy who liked to sort of have a little fun with homeless people. Is that a type of person? It's the type of person he was. So the guy gets to us, and my boyfriend's sort of like, oh, hey, what's your story? How did you get here? What's your deal? And the guy starts talking to us. We start talking to him, and kind of get around to the fact that it's my birthday. And the guy goes, oh, it's your birthday. What are you doing to celebrate? And I was like, oh, just keeping it low key, just me and my man, and we're just going to hang out. And the guy was like, no, you need to do something. Have fun. You're young. And you need to have some fun. And I was like, no, it's okay. We're just chilling. He goes, I could help you guys have some fun. And I was like, that's okay. I don't, what? And he was like, I have some stuff I could give you. They could maybe make the day more fun. And my boyfriend goes, do you mean drugs? Because subtlety was not quite on this radar. And the guy was like, yeah, I got drugs. And neither my boyfriend and I had ever bought drugs before. We had partaken in drugs. Like I had smoked marijuana out of a Pringles can, or like at a party if somebody had drugs, really just pot. If somebody had pot, I was like, I'll smoke that with you all. But I have no sense of how to like procure it, or, if someone handed me a pile of it, I wouldn't know what to, like, So we were really both out of our league here. But my boyfriend sort of just pushed it through and said, yeah, let's do it. Let's buy some drugs. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to stay here. They leave. They like get up and leave and go around a corner. This just, my boyfriend just disappears with a strange man. And I'm sitting there like, okay, this is going to be great, but also this is awful. I don't really want this. And, so they come back a couple minutes later. I was like, okay, good. They didn't just go murder him. And my boyfriend goes, we got to go to Walgreens. And I was like, why are we going to Walgreens? He said, I got to go get him some cash to pay for the drugs. And I was like, stop saying drugs. But so then we go over to the Walgreens, and this Walgreens was also a historical landmark. This was the Walgreens where Shia LaBeouf was arrested when he was filming one of the many Transformers movies in Chicago. Very exciting stuff. A lot of historical markers downtown. So we go into the Shia LaBeouf Walgreens, and my boyfriend gets $20 out of the ATM, comes back out, gives it to the guy. The guy goes, no, I need more. No, I told you, I need more. Come on, you got to go in there. You got to give me more. And I'm standing there, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. Like, I'm out. I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm going to get on the bus. Like, I'm at the bus stop, and if the bus comes, I'm going to get on it. My boyfriend goes, just wait, let me go get some more money, and I'll pay the guy, and then we'll be done. And I said, I'm getting on the bus. I don't care what you do. I don't care anymore. I'm done with this. So my boyfriend goes back in. I'm looking, I see the bus coming down Michigan Avenue, and I'm sort of, looking at the Walgreens door, looking at the bus, looking at the door, looking at the bus, looking at the door. It's very dramatic. And finally, the bus pulls up, opens its doors. My boyfriend runs out of the Walgreens. He hands the money to the guy. We both get on the bus, and it was like, okay, yeah, this heist is over. A successful drug smuggling situation. We pull off, we see the guy waving at us as we go, and my boyfriend and I are just sort of quietly standing there like, yeah, okay, we did a drug deal. Sort of looking around. None of the people on the bus know that, like, we're drug mules. They don't even realize that they're among criminals. So we're riding, and then my boyfriend goes, I don't know what he gave me. And I was like, well, I don't know what, like, it was drugs, I guess. And he goes, yeah, I just don't know really what it was, how much it was. And I was like, all right, nothing we can do about it right now. We're on a bus. We can't pull out drugs on a bus. We just have to wait. So we waited. The bus pulls up to our stop. We get out. We go into an alleyway, and my boyfriend pulls out the drugs, and it's in a cigarette box. And he goes, yeah, he just like put it in my pocket really quick. And I was like, okay, well, great. Let's see those drugs. Let's see what we got. And he opens up the cigarette packet, and inside is trash. Just like a pile of trash. He shakes it out into his hand, and it's like just garbage, like gum wrappers, like bits of newspaper, a couple of old leaves, like absolutely not drugs and absolutely just trash. And I had to laugh because it was like, we go through all of this trouble to get scammed. My boyfriend pays this guy like $60 for a bucket of garbage. And I'm laughing because it just is funny to me. My boyfriend, however, gets furious and begins to scream, and he kicks one of those like silver parking meters, and he breaks his toe. And that was my worst birthday, if I had to say. But yeah, so that was the only time I've like ever tried to buy drugs or get drugs myself. I just really never saw the point of drugs, of marijuana anyway, because it was like, why would I like take something? It like takes a long time. You could just buy a bottle of whiskey, drink that whole thing, and feel good, and then pass out. Like, I mean, the sort of the quickness of it is what I liked about alcohol. I was lucky, I was never really in the same room with real drugs, like drugs. I sort of wasn't cool enough to be like near those things. Because I would have really liked it. I would have really liked heroin. I would have really been probably really good at cocaine, and would have been dead really quickly. But no, alcohol was much more my thing. Just the whole act of it, the whole experience of drinking was just so much more interesting to me. And really, it was like that way ever since my first drink. Because I didn't drink in high school, even though most of my friends did, and I didn't drink in college, even though everybody in the world did. It just wasn't something that I did. It wasn't something my family didn't do it. It was just not part of my life. And I did find that not drinking really made me different. It was like a thing I had. It was a quality. It was something I could be memorable. I was the person that didn't drink, and I was really forward about that. I really made that a big part of my identity, and it made me interesting. Everybody else was drinking except for me, so I was really interesting. And after a while, it seemed like it was getting less and less interesting to people, and I didn't like that. I wanted to keep being interesting. And about halfway through college, right before my 20th birthday, I decided that I was going to start drinking. I was going to take my first drink. On my 20th birthday, we were going to throw a big party, and I would take my first drink. And that sort of got like hyped up into this big event. All my friends, everyone that I knew, we were all going to gather together, and I was going to take my first drink. I was going to get a lot of attention for taking my first drink. So that was very exciting to me. And it was going to be, the party was at this, the big party apartment for the theater department that I was a part of in college. It was a huge apartment, a big old Chicago apartment on the corner above the flower store right across campus. And it was such a lovely, like, open door policy, whether they liked it or not, the people that actually lived there. But they threw all the parties, and it was such a place for everyone to go. It was such a space. It was like the hot spot. I mean, it's like, I imagine that is what, all of the best places in the world combined into one. It was like Studio 54 for college theater kids. But, you would go in there and you'd dance and you'd drink and you'd sing show tunes and you'd act out scenes from plays and you'd dance on the windowsills and you'd be screaming out the lyrics to American Pie or to songs from Rent. And you just knew that you and everyone in that room, you were going to take over the world someday. And you really believed that you could. And everybody was drinking. And it was just such a nice atmosphere all the time. And that party, the party where I took my first drink, everybody was there. And everybody was looking at me. And everybody was watching me. And everybody was laughing because I was being so funny. And I was being so cute. And I was saying silly things and drunk dialing people for the first time. And I was the center of it all. And it was such a great night. It was such a great place to have my first drink. So that technically wasn't my first drink. My first drink was a couple of nights before the party. We were at my apartment, my roommate and I's apartment, and we just had a couple people over, just a sort of a few people sitting in a circle. It was the summertime, so we were just kind of hanging out. Everybody's sitting on the floor in the living room, and everybody's drinking except for me because it was still a couple days till the party, and I was, still going to have my first drink, like, ooh. But everybody's drinking. My roommate had made these mudslides, a sort of chocolatey alcoholic milkshake, and she'd put them inside these big, giant orange martini glasses that she had. So everybody's sitting there with an orange martini glass, and everybody's drinking and laughing and telling stupid jokes and doing bad impressions of our college professors and talking about like last weekend's drunken hookups and everything. And they're all laughing, and they're all having such a good time. And I realize I'm bored. I'm not having a good time, and I don't have anything to say because I don't have any drunk stories to tell yet. And it occurred to me, I would be having more fun if I was drinking. And I knew that my party was coming up, but I just couldn't wait. I kept looking at all of the glasses in their hands and kept looking down at my empty hands. And I just wanted to have fun like everybody else. So I go to the kitchen and there's one more orange martini glass and there's a mudslide resting comfortably inside. And nobody's in the kitchen. Nobody sees me. Nobody knows. And so I pick up the glass and I raise it to my mouth. And it's sweet. It's like a milkshake kind of thing. And so it doesn't even taste like there's alcohol in it at all. But then I see that there's like a half-empty bottle of Kahlua right on the counter with all the other bottles. And I realize, yes, this is it. I'm taking my first drink. And I tip it back and I drink the whole thing. And then I get that feeling. You know that feeling? It starts at the top of your head, kind of right where the parietal lobes of your brain are separated. And then it starts spreading down, kind of like it's shutting down your brain part by part by part. And then it comes down through your face into your chest, and it burrows deep down inside there. It's like a warm blanket covering your heart. And then that feeling comes out through your shoulders, down your arms, elbows, down into your fingertips. And you feel it all over. It's the feeling of bliss. It's your anxieties just melting right off of you and evaporating into the air. Everything leaves you. Everything bad leaves your body, and you're left with just you. You become who you truly are the moment that that feeling hits your fingertips. And so I need more. I take another drink. I take a bottle of the Bacardi rum and I tip it back and drink it down. And this one isn't sweet. It burns a little going down, but like a good burn, like kind of how you have to set fire to a field to build a new crop sometimes. And so then that feeling comes back and spreads all through my body, down through my legs and hips and ankles. And it was like all of my joints are so freshly oiled and new. This is where I want to be. This is who I want to be. This is where I want to stay forever. I just want to be here. I just want to be her. And then I hear some footsteps coming to the kitchen. So I quickly kind of set everything back to right. And my roommate comes into the kitchen and I'm just sort of pretending to do dishes. And she says, "Wasn't there an extra mudslide?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so. No, I'm just cleaning up in here." And then I said, "Oh, I can't wait till, my party, and I'm going to be drinking with you guys. It's going to be so much fun. Oh my God." And we both are like, "Oh my God." And yeah, and then she walks out of the kitchen, and when I know that she's gone back to the living room, I take a last few desperate gulps. I just pick up bottle after bottle after bottle, and I just try a little bit of everything. And I let that feeling come over me again, spreading all over my skin and taking over. It's like another layer onto your body. And I'm me again. I'm me for the first time. And I realize I never, ever want to be without this feeling ever again. I want to feel like this all the time. I need to feel like this all the time. So that's what I tried to do. Really, for the next 6 years or so, was I tried to feel like that again. I searched far and wide for that feeling down at the bottom of every single bottle I ever met. And I never quite got there again, but I sure did give it the old college try. Yeah, like I said, those years are a bit of a blur. It was a lot of hurting other people and hurting myself and trying to figure out what feeling good feels like. I did that for a long time, and I'm really lucky that eventually I kind of realized pretty quickly, in the grand scheme of things, a couple of years is a short amount of time when it comes to addiction, and I realized it just wasn't It wasn't going to work. I went through a lot of stages of denial, and a lot of family members and people that I loved asking me to stop, telling me to stop, leaving my life until I stopped. And then finally I did. After trying a couple of times in 2013, I moved back home after I moved out to California with the aforementioned terrible boyfriend, and we sort of tried to drink up as much as there was in the Bay. And but then I moved home, and that relationship broke up, because I sort of realized you shouldn't date someone who doesn't like you, You know how you date someone who just doesn't really like you, and you do that for a long, long time? It's not really that fun. So we broke up, and I decided that I was going to get sober. And getting sober wasn't so bad. It was the staying sober that I found to be a little tricky. Yeah, I mean, the thing about getting sober, and sure, you get a new lease on life, and you stop hurting people, and you improve your health, you improve everything about your life. But the thing that no one really tells you is that it sucks. It is so hard at first because you have felt the feeling. You have been there. You've gotten there. You've experienced this, and now you don't get to. Now you don't get to dull any emotion. You don't get to ignore things. You don't get to just pass out instead of trying to go to sleep. You don't get to quiet the voices in your head. They're always there. I have to feel every feeling that I feel. As a sober person, I just have to feel everything in the world. Always, I have to actually feel it. And it's really terrible, and it's kind of boring. I mean, the hardest thing for me was, and still can be, is a sleep schedule. Because when I was drinking, in order to quiet all my voices and anxieties and, the memories of the sort of pain that I've been causing, you just drink, and then you can kind of fall asleep in a warm bath, and you just black out, and then suddenly it's the next day. It's like no time passes. But when you're sober, you can't do that. You have to actually fall asleep, and you have to sit there and be just with your thoughts until you fall asleep, and then you wake up. And sure, there's no hangover, but if you have trouble sleeping like I do, it's 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night for a year. So I tried to get on a good sleep schedule. I tried things like, I tried taking some of those ZQuil tablets, and one that worked. That was pretty good. So I did that for a little bit. And then I started to just go back to the NyQuil tablets, just to prevent any cold and flu symptoms as well. And that worked really well too, those little tablets. And so then I thought, maybe if one dose works well, maybe I'll take 2 doses, and that, put me right to sleep, and that was great. And then I thought, well, maybe if 2 doses are working, maybe I'll take a little more. So I bought the liquid kind, and that really, you can take that down, and that worked super great. So I thought this was a wonderful system, and so I was eventually drinking about half a bottle of NyQuil every night. And then I thought, this is a little drinky. This might be a little addicty, to drink something until you can fall asleep and just pass out into oblivion. So I had to stop doing that. And I tried to do a lot of things to feel good, to recapture not that feeling, not like the feeling, but to find what feels good. Because historically, the things that make me feel good are not healthy for me. So I was trying to find healthy ways to feel good. So I started walking a lot. I started running. I ran a lot. I ended up being like a runner for a short amount of time, like a runner, like capital R runner. I had like runner's clothes and all that stuff. I think I would put runner in my Instagram bio, like that kind of thing. But I ran so much. I ran about 5 half marathons in just over 2 years, and that was too many. As it turns out, my body buckled slightly, and I ended up getting a really bad hip injury, and just walking around with this intense amount of pain. And then on top of that, one day at work, I sat down in a broken chair, and I must stress that the chair was broken before I sat in it. it was the broken chair, and I sat in it, so it's fine. And then it broke even more. It broke spectacularly, and I fell right through it onto the floor and sort of like, fell like directly onto the floor, and I think my spinal cord was like, eh. So then it was like not only my hip, and this is about the time that my teeth started to hurt. So it was like my hip, my teeth, and my back. So there's maybe like a sexy song in there, like my hip, my back, my teeth are out of whack. So I knew I had to go to the doctor, and I was sort of waiting for my dental thing to happen, my hip, my back. So I went into my doctor, and I said, I need an x-ray. I need to, like, did I just break my back? Am I going to, need a cane? Am I going to die? Do I have back cancer now? I'm that kind of person. So my doctor said, yeah, let's go get you in for an x-ray. But while we're waiting for that, because it'll take a little while, let's get you some pills. Let's get you something to relax you. And I was like, yes, please give me some pills. But then I also, the sort of sober part of my brain was like, when you say pills, they have to be not addictive because, as you know, I'm an addict because I told you I'm an addict. So please do not give me anything like addictive, And she was like, oh, yeah, no, it's going to be fine. They're not addictive. And I was like, great, you're a doctor. Surely you are prescribing things in the proper amount and manner. So I got the pills. A day later or so, I was like reading the directions and it said, take one a day when you're in pain. And I was like, well, I'm constantly in pain, so I'm going to take one. And I was at work and I took one, and I don't know what really it was, but it made me immediately sick. I felt nauseous. I felt vomity. I was like, I need to lay down at my job. And then I eventually had to go home because I just was like, I'm going to puke. I don't want to puke at work. And I was like, this actually is kind of a good thing because it did make my back feel better, but it also didn't make me feel the feeling. So this is good. I'm not going to get addicted to these pills. I thought I'm not going to enjoy this. Because again, things I enjoy are not good for me. That maybe isn't the proper thing, but that's what I've learned. So the next day, my back is hurting again, and I think, okay, great, I'm going to take one of the pills that make me sick but make my back feel good. And I took another pill, and for some reason, this one really worked. And it helped me immediately just relax. And it helped me just feel really good. And I just felt really good all over. My back felt good, but then everything else felt good. And I felt so light and wonderful. It was like everything, all the worries that I was having in my life just disappeared. I didn't have to think about anything. I could just feel good. And so then when I got home that night, I thought, I kind of want to keep feeling this a little bit before I go to sleep. And so I took one before I went to sleep, and then I just sort of like drifted off into sleep. And then it was just the next morning. There was no tossing and turning, no thinking, no reliving childhood memories of trauma, no like, oh, that embarrassing thing you said at a party in 2008. It was just like sleep. And I thought, this is so wonderful. So the next night I did it again right before I went to bed, and I just drifted off to sleep. And I thought, this is such a great idea. And the next night I thought, well, if one pill makes me feel good, 2 pills will make me feel very good. And it did. And so then I took 2 pills and I went to sleep. And then the next night I was going out with my friends to a movie. And so I took a pill before the movie so that I could feel good and I could have fun with my friends. And I did. And I was really funny, and everybody thought I was great and so funny. And I took another pill before I went to sleep, and then I just went right to sleep. And then the next day I was going home for Thanksgiving, and I knew what was happening. I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid, but I just wanted to feel good. I knew what was happening. So I knew I couldn't really, should I bring these pills home with me to my parents' house? Everyone in my family went through this journey with me to get sober. They're not really going to let me get away with this. But what if I need them? What if I get in a fight with somebody and I want to relax, or what if I can't sleep and I want to go to sleep, or what if I feel bad and I want to feel good? I just need to have them just in case, just in case something happens, if there's an emergency. So I take the pills, I put them in my purse, and I jump on the South Shore line, the glamorous South Shore line to South Bend, Indiana, and I go home. And I walk in the door, and, I have a huge family, so you're like saying hello to everybody and hugging everyone, and that takes about half an hour. And then my mom and I sit down at the table, and she's like, oh, how was your week? How was your job? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's good. It's good. And we're just like making small talk, and I can feel my hand like reaching for my purse as we're just kind of like, yeah, having a talk, and yeah, everything's good. And then I just grab the pills and I throw them at her, and I was like, look, I need you to take these. I can't have them anymore. I keep taking them. And my mom was like, okay, all right, great, thanks. And then I didn't have to have them. And it felt like, okay, that was the right thing to do. It was hard to sleep, and I felt uncomfortable, and everything was fine, but it was sort of like, yeah, that was the right thing to do. It was maybe getting out of control. So it was good. And then at the end of the weekend, I went up to my mom and I was like, you know what? Thank you so much for holding on to those. I think I'm ready to take them back now with me, to take them back to Chicago. And she was like, no, those are gone. Those are down the toilet. They're gone. And I was like, yep, right. That's what you do. That's what you do with an addict, is you completely like take away yeah. There it is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, again, I'm not stupid. Like, I know what, I know what was happening, but in the moment, I wanted it. And that's a really hard feeling to ignore, is the wanting of it, especially when you don't get to have it ever. So anyway, that was Thanksgiving. And then my wisdom teeth surgery was scheduled for right before Christmas. So it was a couple weeks. And leading up to it, I'm really nervous. I go in for this consultation with Harvey Keitel, my dentist, is not part of this. Yeah, I have to go to the oral surgeon or whatever. And, they asked me, do you want to go under and have the anesthesia? And I was like, yes. And I want to be numbed, and I don't want to be awake for any of this. And then I say, and you need to not give me any pills afterwards. I'm a drug addict. And I don't usually say drug addict. I would categorize myself more as an alcoholic, like a really good alcoholic, minoring in drug addiction. But drug addiction sounds scarier. You know what I mean? It sounds like a more professional type of addict. And so I like wanted to make sure that they wrote that down. So I was like, can you write down, like, write it down, like, no pills. Like, write down Eileen. Yep, Eileen is a drug addict. Write it down, so I can't get them. Because what if something happens? What if I wake up and it hurts so much, and I say, give me the pills? Like I'm a pregnant lady in the TV shows where I'm like, give me the shot. It's not part of our birth plan, but now I need it. What if I say I need it? And what if I make them give it to me? So a lot of anxiety that I just have to feel, for a couple weeks as I'm waiting for this surgery day to happen. And I'm getting, more and more anxious, but it's going to be okay. So the day of the surgery arrives. I have a couple of friends take me to the oral surgeon, like chaperone me there. And so, because you have to have somebody there with you at the beginning, and my parents were driving in, and so they were going to kind of like have a handoff from my friends to me, and very like just sort of shoving me into my parents' arms. So I go in and I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm like, they know you're a drug addict. It's fine. They're going to take your mouth and just, So they like numb me up, and they're like, you won't be able to move your whole body. And I was like, cool. So that started to happen, and I was like, wow, I can't move my whole body. Like, that's interesting. Haven't had this happen before. And then they said, I thought they were going to do like a countdown, like they do in the movies, where they're like, and now count down from 10. And you're like, 10, 9, 8, and then you fall asleep. But that didn't happen. They just were like, okay, well, and now you'll go to sleep. And I waited to go to sleep. And I did not go to sleep. And I started to panic, but this was panic in a paralyzed body. Like, I don't even know if they could see my eyes were open. I don't even know if my eyes were open. It felt like they were, but maybe they weren't. And I can like hear them, and I can start to feel them sort of like bat me around a little bit. Like I just feel pressure. Like, I don't feel pain. I just feel the pressure of them like getting into my mouth. And I was like, oh my God, here it is. Like, this is going to be I survived it. I was awake during surgery. Like, what if they take out my kidneys while I'm doing this? I don't know. I mean, it's insane. So I'm starting to really panic now. And I'm kind of like, what am I going to do? And I look over at Chewbacca, who's sitting next to me because he's my co-pilot. And I was like, Chewbacca, what are we going to do about this? And Chewbacca was just like, mm-mm. And then I fell asleep. And an hour passed, but I didn't feel it at all. It felt like I said goodbye to Chewie. I fell asleep and I woke back up in 1 second. And in the second I woke up, I realized that I was high. And because the anesthetic that they give you when you come back out of it, it is the same feeling of being high. And I immediately didn't want it. I immediately wanted to be anywhere else in any other body in any other situation than here. It felt like a lot of the dreams that I have, when I can fall asleep easily, if I have a nightmare, sometimes those nightmares are that I'm drinking, that I relapsed, that I broke my sobriety, and I will have to wake up in the middle of the night, like sit up in bed sweating, and I'll look at my hands to make sure that it was a lie, that it was a dream, that I didn't do it, that I didn't do the thing. And this is how it felt, that I woke up and it felt like I was high, and I was saying no, except my mouth is off, so I'm like, no, I'm high right now. Because my mouth is so full of gauze and blood. So I'm like yelling, no, I don't want to be high right now. And this nurse and the surgeon are kind of like, whoa, you need to calm down. And, I can't move. So I'm like, can't even really struggle. And, the doctor, the oral surgeon who did not have a sexy Harvey Keitel voice, nor did he have a very nice bedside manner. I mean, he was fine, but it was like, he goes, oh no. And I'm, because I started sobbing, crying, just and tears pouring out of my paralyzed eyes. And he was like, hey, an emotional response, a lot of people cry after surgery. It's very normal to have this response. And I was trying to be like, no, sir, this is just who I am as a person. I will cry if someone mentions the end of the movie Apollo 13. And so I'm, again, I cried everything. And the nurse is trying to calm me down. He was this very nice guy. And he was trying to just say to me, you can't move. You can't talk. You have to calm down. And I just kept saying, I didn't do that. I didn't do it. I didn't get high. I didn't mean to. I didn't do it. I'm sober. And I kept saying, I'm sober. And he said, okay. And he held my hand as I came out of it. And he was asking me, when a dental person asks you a question and you can't answer, he was like, how long have you been sober? And I was like, about 6 years or so. I really like being sober. Yeah. And he was like, sure, yeah. And I just kept saying, I didn't do it. I didn't do this. Because I didn't want to be. I didn't want it. And so then my body kind of woke up and I started to be able to move. And this very nice nurse I heave myself onto him, and he has to bring me down to my parents. And for some reason, maybe because it was Lincoln Park and Lincoln Park is terrible, my parents had to pull into the alleyway in between the office and another building or whatever. And so he had to take me down the back staircase. I was some delivery. It was this die-hard looking staircase. And, he's supporting me and I'm crying. And then he gets me to my parents, and I'm sure just tosses me at my father. And I just keep saying, I didn't do this. It's not my fault. My parents load me up into the car. They take me back to Indiana. I sit on my parents' couch for a weekend, and I eat nothing but root beer floats, and I watch John Carpenter's The Thing for the first time. And I'm okay. And I wish that I could say that it didn't hurt and that it was fine and that it was great, and I'm really glad I didn't take any pills. But no, it really hurt. It hurt so much. It hurt so badly in a way I had never experienced pain before. This sort of like crunching, numbing pain in the back, because all I had was ibuprofen and it hurt like hell. And I just went through it. I survived it, you know? Because that's what being sober really is all about, is that you just keep surviving. You know, it's like me and the water tower in the middle of the Chicago fire, just standing there surviving. Just getting through it. And there's a world in which the story ends with the end. I did it. That's what addiction is, everyone. And I never struggled again. And that's not it. I don't get to say that. I mean, it's been 2 years since I got my wisdom teeth out, and I haven't had any pills. It's been almost 7 years since my last drink. Today I did not take a drink. Today I did not put anything into my body that was addictive and harmful. I hope that tomorrow night I can say the same, but there's no guarantee, because every day is a day I have to survive and fight for. And I fight for myself. I fight to stay, to be her, to be the her that woke up and said, I don't want this. Because that's really, at the end of the day, the person that you truly are is that person. The person that I truly am. It's not about the feeling and the drink and how the drink makes me feel. It's about the person that makes the choice. That makes the choice to survive and to stay. And I'm really grateful that I get to be her, and I'm grateful that I have the choice to stay her. And all I can do is keep going. And all I can do is try to be good to myself. All I can do is try to lean on my community and to be a community for other people. And all I can do, all really any of us can ever do in this world to take care of ourselves and to be good to ourselves, the only thing we can really do is remember to floss.